you start in southern Pakistan and head south, you can eventually hit Russia without ever touching another piece of land. You begin in Sonmiani in Balochistan, Pakistan, and head across this line. You'll pass nearby Somalia, so try not to get Captain Phillip along the way. Once past that, you'll cross between Africa and Madagascar and pass through the doldrums for the first time. If you brought a sailboat with you, you could get pretty hard here because the wind can sometimes stop for weeks on end. But hopefully you brought a motor that didn't get stolen by the pirates and you've gotten yourself through. So now you cross the Atlantic before sliding in through the Drake Passage between South America and Antarctica, which is quite possibly the most dangerous body of water in the world. Wind speeds can get up to 80 miles per hour here, which helps to generate huge waves, extremely strong currents, and with the added complexity of poor visibility year-round, you may wish that you had just gotten by the pirates back near Somalia. The survival odds may be higher depending on how your boat is. Anyway, if you get through that, you only have to sail across literally the entire Pacific Ocean and through the most empty part of the planet. You'll be pretty nearby to Point Nemo here, which is literally the furthest point away in the ocean from any land. If you run into trouble out here, the closest other humans to you will often be the astronauts occasionally orbiting above you aboard the International Space Station. You'll be several days to weeks away from any actual help that could come to you from an inhabited part of the world, and that's even if you had the ability to signal for help, so try not to do anything or you'll be wishing for the pirates once again. You also have to pass back through the doldrums over on this side of the world here, so sailboats run an extra hazard of getting trapped again. But when you finally get to the other side of the line, you'll hit land in the Karaginsky district of the Kamchatka Krai in Russia, after sailing across roughly 80% of the entire Earth's circumference, and more importantly, achieving something that nobody before in history has ever done: the straight line across water connecting Italy with Venezuela. Yes, that's right. On a map, this looks, but here's how it actually works out in reality. You only have about a 6-mile stretch of shoreline around the town of Palmi in Italy to work with here, but if you stay within the borders of the line, you'll eventually make it all the way to Venezuela. You're gonna just squeeze through the northern part of the Strait of Gibraltar and then just barely miss the island of Madeira before finally landing over on the other side. But it is possible, which I guess helps explain why Venezuela is named after Venice and has so many Italians. You can also start in Norway and sail in a straight line up and eventually arrive in Antarctica over on the other side of the world without ever touching any other land. This seems weird, but again, here's how it actually plays out. You have to start in a very narrow stretch of coast again on the western side of Norway and head so far north that you eventually begin heading south. You cross between Svalbard and Greenland, just barely squeeze through the Bering Strait between Alaska and Russia. You'll just barely squeeze through again when you're passing through the Aleutian Islands, and a long way later across the Pacific, you'll barely skirt past Samoa. But from there on, it's a straight shot all the way over to Antarctica. But unfortunately, it's not the part of Antarctica which is already claimed by Norway, which is a big shame in my opinion. It lands instead in the only part of Antarctica which no country in the world currently claims yet, so I feel like this is a pretty good qualification for Norway to just call dibs. Plenty of people have circumnavigated the globe before, but that's boring compared to this. So get out there and do your research and planning and do something great like this. Of course, planning and research for anything takes both practice and effort. If you're going to go on an adventure sailing in a straight line across the ocean, or if you want to study a globe to find your own weird lines to impress people at the bar with, you need to understand how the planet works. As in, what is the actual shape of Earth? How does the weather work, or how does the Earth rotate?